It's that I've paid the tuition. Let's go have a cup of coffee and let me pay this forward for you so that you don't have to pay that tuition that I've already paid. That's what we love to do as entrepreneurs, is to share and support. You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question: what has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist, the author of How to Hire the Best, and your co-host on the Profit by Design podcast. Weekly, my co-host, Mike Bruno, and I bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests, who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real-life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire.
Profit designers, are you ready to take your life back from your business? If so, I invite you to join us in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community that we've started at Tap the Potential. Chances are, if you have a growing business, you're paying a team, and you still feel like you're having to do it all. It shouldn't be this way. Work should support life, not the other way around. And at Tap the Potential, we support entrepreneurs like you in designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. In our Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook group, I'm sharing with you lots of tips, tools, and strategies to support you in a business that gives you your life back. When you join our community, you will get access to exclusive mini trainings from me, including the Better Business, Better Life Jumpstart, as well as the How to Hire the Best Jumpstart. These free trainings are available only to the members of the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community. There's no charge to join. I would love to see you there and get to know more about you. To join us, go to tapthepotential.com/group. That's tapthepotential.com/group. Profit designers, today we're talking about the value of community for us as entrepreneurs. I personally am so aware that in my journey as an entrepreneur, I grow continually but through my connection with others. And there are so many people in my world who have shared their experiences with me, their school of hard knocks, and allowed me to learn and grow from their experience and short circuit some of the own school of hard knocks I might have experienced. Today, I'm bringing you 3 of those people who play a huge role in my life in being part of my network of people that I consider that I could reach out to if I were struggling with something, and people that I look to learn from and continually look for ways that I can support them as well. We have Donna Leyens with us, John Bates, and Darren Virassammy. Darren Virassammy believes we have the power to create the workplace culture we envision, where people are engaged, valued for being valuable, and playing to their strengths. 34-strong co-founder and TEDx speaker Darren Virassammy leads the team that serves alongside you to make that a sustainable reality, whether you lead an army of one or a large organization. Donna Leyens is the president and co-founder of Pumpkin Plan Your Biz. She is on a mission to save small businesses from extinction by providing tools, strategy, training, and support to business professionals who want to make a big impact as small business growth strategists. John Bates's why is to unleash what is great in all of us so that it can live in the world. John lives that why, and he has a lot to share. He has spoken, hosted, and coached for over 35 different worldwide TED and TEDx events. The amount of vulnerability, openness, self-reflection, and honesty that a well-done TED format talk requires is second to none. The insights into leadership, success, and fulfillment in life that John has gained from his years of experience with this allow him to share some of the biggest, most powerful secrets of truly successful leadership that exists. So with that, let's join our conversation. Profit designers, at Tap the Potential, we are on a mission right now to be a positive force in social media during trying times for all of us entrepreneurs. In that regard, I would love it if you could help us out
we really want to get behind any of you who are doing good things in your communities, showing up and leading with love. If you are doing something to keep your team together during this time and you're sharing it in social media, or you come across another entrepreneur who is being a gift from their gift in some way that you notice, please use the hashtags Lead with Love and Be a Gift. Our team at Tap the Potential is on the lookout in social media for those hashtags, and we will be reposting those social media posts from the Tap the Potential social media. Let's all lead with love, be a gift, and shine bright during these trying times.
So, Donna, John, Darren, welcome back to the Profit by Design podcast. You three are incredible guests, and how awesome is it that we get to have three of you here for this really important discussion on the value of community for us as entrepreneurs. And our team at Tap the Potential, when we started talking about this podcast episode and planning it, I went to the team and I said, who really stands out to you in your mind in our world of entrepreneurs and our Tap the Potential family? Who really stands out to you in your mind as people who are community builders and who are very active in our community and supporting other entrepreneurs? And, the three of you were mentioned. And so, Donna is incredible with respect to not just helping train strategists in pumpkin planning, but you are so passionate about building community yourself with entrepreneurs. You have the Pumpkin Planners Rock Facebook group. Donna, how many entrepreneurs are in that Facebook group?
I think right now it's around 3,000.
That's huge. So how long ago did you start that group?
Oh, that's a good question. It's been probably 2 years maybe. And I don't even know. I mean, we do promote it a little bit. I've got it in my email signature and we put links to the group and various things, but people seem to find us and we're adding people to the group every day. And it's a really cool experience.
So in terms of the Pumpkin Planners Rock Facebook community, Donna, what is it that you notice in Pumpkin Planners Rock because there's a lot of conversation. I think almost daily I see something pop up in my Facebook where someone's posted or asked a question.
Well, interestingly, Sabrina, one of the things that just happened like this week, there was a conversation happening with somebody who is very new in her business and was talking about wanting to do wish list interviews, but she was worried about it. As you and I both know that interviewing your clients can be scary, but it's also incredibly rewarding. So we were all encouraging her and she was going to do it. And I posted, how did it go? And she posted that she chickened out. And then everybody jumped in and started encouraging her again. And I said, listen, I want you to know that you are not alone in this. Like most people are really afraid to do this. And here's what I do when I get worried about like taking a big step or something scares me. I remember, and I have this written on my bulletin board, to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because I've learned that when I want to make progress, I have to push my comfort zone. And I never make progress if I don't get out of it. And just writing that encouraged her so much. She said, I thought I was the only one because I'm shy and I'm an introvert. And then all these people were jumping in and saying we were late. And suddenly she didn't feel alone anymore. And she felt emboldened. And she said, I'm going to do this. So just those, when a lot of people, I think, probably just read what's going on and they don't necessarily all jump in and talk, but just seeing the conversations and understanding like, oh, all these other business owners are going through similar or the same things as I am, I think can be really, really encouraging and helpful.
Yeah. And I want to acknowledge Don Zerby, who's very active in our Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back community and just all over in Tap the Potential. He was one of the very first in the Pumpkin Planners Rock to share with this person that he also had the same hesitations. And it's that feeling of, I am not alone. And whatever this challenge is, there's other people who can relate to me And that gave her that momentum. I jumped in and I shared. I was scared when I did my wish list interviews the first time. And so there's these hurdles, there's these things where I know as a pumpkin plan strategist, when someone does their wish list interviews, that's going to be transformational in their business. She almost didn't do it just because she thought this is scary. And now she's moving forward with it. So that's something that can really have an impact. John, I want to check in here with you because you're building a community right now yourself on Facebook. And you have been you've been at our retreats at Breakthroughs, just like Donna. And every time you show up in a way that you are looking, it feels to me like the question that's in the back of your head is, how can I contribute? How can I be a gift from my gifts? And so that's how I see you showing up out there right now in the world as you're building your community. So I want to hear a little bit about the community that you're building and why it's important to you.
So I'm in the nascent stage. I'm in the early stages of building my community, and it's an absolutely amazing thing. I'm at the, day 5 of doing a free Facebook Live class and bringing people into that private Facebook group so that we can have a container for all that interaction. And, I don't think I ever realized just how fun and impactful and inspiring it would be to bring people together. And as I am on this call with you, I think about all the people that I've met because I'm in your community, Dr. Sabrina and Donna and Darren, and to get on a call with the three of you and be welcomed in and have what I'm doing and I know what you're doing and we care about each other. And I know that if I have a real problem, I can just call you and say, hey, I think you could help me with this. And you would take that call. That's a fabulous, fabulous thing. And, my community is around the free courses, Powerful Virtual Leadership, which I think we all need more now than ever. I mean, it's, even though we're a year in, there's still a lot to figure out. And I don't think it's going away. And then I'm putting together people in a Live Like a Leader group, a group coaching program. And the goal for that is, again, to bring people together, have them support each other, have them hear from each other. And that one of the things I do is focus very much on people's stories and the stories that people are afraid to tell, right? The very vulnerable stories, the real stories, like the place where they learned the hard lesson that ended up making the difference. And one of the common denominators, I think, is that whole, I thought I was alone, and to know you're not alone is huge. And then the other thing that I've been thinking about the whole time that you've just been even introducing this is one of the folks I'm supporting right now who talks about how he was watching YouTube videos and taking advice from his construction buddies, right? Construction buddy advice. Problem is that all the people he was taking advice from had the same problem, And I think that that's a really big piece of community and what you bring together, Dr. Sabrina and Donna and Darren, is people from different professions have amazing insights into your profession. So getting people together and encouraging that kind of interaction and supporting each other and all that. I mean, without Mike Michalowicz, I wouldn't be here. I don't think that I would have made it past that first round of, what do I do now? And that's what we do for each other, right?
I just have to say, I'm sorry for jumping in, but John actually said that earlier today on his Facebook Live because Mike was the guest. And I was like, me too. If Mike had given up at that point in his story where he wanted to give up, he would not have written the pumpkin plan. My business would be a completely different business. I would not have met you, Sabrina. I would not have met you, John. I would not have met Darren. Our lives would be completely different if Mike had given up. Imagine that ripple effect. It's almost mind-boggling to think about.
Well, it is mind-boggling because I just had that aha moment. I know each and every one of you because of Mike Michalowicz. And the other thing that just went through my mind is I remember a conversation that I had with you and Mike, Donna, when we first met in New Jersey. And we went out, I think we were going, it was a rainy afternoon and we were walking somewhere to go eat. And Mike was talking about the loneliness of the entrepreneurial journey and how, I was talking to him about being an author, and he said, yeah, and it's lonely. And I thought, he's right. This is a hard road for us entrepreneurs. So, Darren, I want to pull you into the conversation here, because I met you at ProfitCon because of Mike Michalowicz and, everything he's done with Profit First and building that community around that. And you gave a talk on stage about strengths, and your company is 34 strong. And I was so compelled by what you shared that I felt like I couldn't wait for you to finish talking. I wanted to get you off stage and I just wanted to talk to you. And I just thought, I want to help Darren get that message out to more people. And I want my people that I work with to know Darren. And so I just had that desire, like, how do we connect? How do we bring this together? And little did I know that in doing that, how my life would be impacted by everything that I've gotten to learn from you, Darren. So you stand out to me, Darren, as someone who is a connector. Like, you show up in my world and you say, Sabrina, you need to know so-and-so. And I want to make sure you know so-and-so, because that person is going to impact you, or you can impact them in some way. Not everyone, that's a unique gift. It's a strength. Not everyone has that. And I just want to give you the opportunity to talk about, you show up in that way. What is that for you? What makes that important to you?
Thank you so much for that. That means a lot. And on the heels of what's been said, what's come about here, Mike's played a huge level in all of our lives with making those connections and getting into this place of connecting people. I think this goes back for me is, as I've grown personally as an entrepreneur, and as 34 Strong has grown and has, we serve 34 Strongs on the arc tends to serve larger scale. We're dealing a lot with government organizations, right? We're dealing a lot with private sector companies, and we do serve the entrepreneurs as well. That does light my fire. And a big part of why I focus on connecting in that level, sending the text messages, making the introductions, just jumping on the call to maintain those relationships, is a big part of it. Ties into exactly what you just said, Dr. Sabrina, is you hear somebody, you believe that their message needs to be heard. Who is it that they need to be connected with? And a lot of people, it's easy when we're an entrepreneur to be in the vein of, I just need to connect with people that can connect me to somebody else. So that comes across and that gets felt. And a lot of times that's exactly what you're going to attract in. And what I found is when you go through and you listen deeply to where others are at, and if you can help, just start off asking the simple question, how can I help this person, whatever it is? We might have some overlaps. As I think John just mentioned so eloquently, you're going to have different backgrounds, different professions of what it is that you do versus somebody else. But some of the issues that you face within your business, they're not all that much different. And when you lead and you show that you can make those connections, make those introductions, it opens the door. And what I found for myself personally is in giving in that lens selflessly, what ends up happening is you get the calls and the introductions when you least expect it. And that's why when Melissa contacted me for this like a day and a half ago and just said, hey, we're doing this. Could you be on? It's going to be this amazing panel. It's going to be John, Dr. Sabrina, and Donna. And I said, of course, I'm going to figure out a way to move things on. I'm supposed to be hosting a webinar right now. And I just told my team, can we find a sub for that webinar? Because you find the opportunity to serve. And not only do you help advance somebody else, it oftentimes will lead to these serendipitous opportunities and connections for you when you least expect it, and you allow the world to do exactly what it needs to do, some of the connection there. And the final point I'll say on that, I haven't forgotten where I came from. I don't think any of us have here. I don't think Mike has, which is why so many people have gravitated towards him and connected. He's been successful as an author and going through, and he's very, very approachable. And any of us here are the same way with the successes that we've had in business. We've realized it was exactly because of other business owners who might have been a little further along in their journey that when we finally flip that switch to ask and to open up the Pandora's box of, oh, do you have these sorts of issues? And somebody says, oh yeah, when I was in this place, here's the challenges I had. In fact, I already paid the tuition on that. I've already learned that the hard way. Let's have a cup of coffee. Let me tell you about what you don't want to do so you can avoid stepping into that. And boom, it's been so powerful. So any opportunity I have personally to give that back, particularly in the entrepreneurs community and building, scaling, and kind of thinking through this. And again, sharing the tuition that I've already paid in a lot of ways and gotten our butts kicked in a lot of ways, I'm happy to do that however we can, because the journey to success, the road to success is definitely not a straight line. It's just it's kind of like a pile of coat hangers, I would say. That's what the road to success looks like. What you see on the website and what we might look like here, the behind the scenes is kind of like a pile of coat hangers at times.
Can I toss something in from left field that I think super relevant?
What do you want me to say, John?
Okay, now, did you see his beautiful, beautiful eyes? Look at those eyes. It reminds me of why this sort of thing is so powerful, Dr. Sabrina. And here's what I mean. Human beings are the only primate and one of the only creatures on Earth who have whites in our eyes. Now, we gave up a lot for that, because if you have whites in your eyes, people can see where you're looking. Other animals can tell what we gave away our ability to be super sneaky to have whites in our eyes. And the interesting thing to me too, is it's not a variable trait. It's not like some people have it or most people. Everybody has that. And that's significant, because when you take any of the great apes and you put them, sit them down and you put what they want under one bowl and nothing under another bowl, and then you don't move anything or say anything, but you look at the bowl that's got something under it, they don't get it. It's still 50-50. Now, if you do that with a dog will get it every time, but that's because dogs have been evolving with us for at least 50,000 years. So different story. But that speaks to why we did it, why we gave up being sneaky. And if you look at the record in the Paleolithic period, there were other humans. There were Denisovans, there were Neanderthals. I don't know if this is something to brag about. I have more Neanderthal DNA than 98% of people on 23andMe. So if you want to know what Neanderthals were like, I'm pretty close. But there were others on Earth with us. At the upper Paleolithic, all of a sudden, every other one of them died out and Homo sapiens took over the Earth. And why did that happen? It turns out it has to do with the whites in our eyes, because when we gave up colored, pupil or colored, whatever it is, when we got the whites in our eyes, we did that so that we could better see where each other were looking, better know what each other were thinking, and better cooperate. We became friendlier. That's why we won. It's not because we were bigger or stronger or even smarter. It's because we were friendlier. That is the number one evolutionary advantage that Homo sapiens has over anything else on the planet. And that's exactly, Dr. Sabrina, what I think you're doing with this group, right? That is a fundamental piece. I wanted to say that, first of all, because Darren's got such beautiful eyes. And also because I just think it's incredibly important to keep in mind. It's not just fun. It's not just a good idea. It's an evolutionary advantage to be friendly.
And to cooperate and share resources. Well, that really is why we have the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back community, is to share resources. And Darren and John and Donna, each of you have touched on this so powerfully. And Darren, when you were speaking about it, I saw John and Donna and I just kind of like, yes, that's exactly it. It's that I've paid the tuition. Let's go have a cup of coffee and let me pay this forward for you so that you don't have to pay that tuition that I've already paid. That's what we love to do as entrepreneurs, is to share and support. And it is not about competition. Competition doesn't win. And if we are in our silos by ourselves trying to do our thing in our business, and it's amazing to me how when we bring entrepreneurs together across industries, which is what I love to do, the ideas that get generated and if this works in my business, in my industry, and I'm a landscaper and I'm a florist, who would have thought that it could work in those two totally disparate industries? And it's that cooperation. I just finished reading, or I'm almost finished reading Survival of the Friendliest because John Bates told me about it. I read Kelly Roach's Live Launch. John Bates told me about it. The things that I read, the things that I'm thinking about, and Donna's got it. And I learned a long time ago that we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. At the point in my life when I heard that, I thought, I'm screwed because I'm hanging out with my 3-year-old child and my dog. I need to up-level my game. And so I just feel so blessed to have people like you in my lives because you guys share resources with me. You tell me things. Donna constantly has new ideas for me and they're all good. If you've ever had a conversation with Donna Leyens, she's like, I've got an idea. And that my life is so rich because of that experience. And that's what I want our Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back community to be, that place where we go, we share tools and resources and support one another. So I would love to hear from each of you. And I'm going to start with Darren, and then we'll go John and Donna. What was it for you when you first encountered the value of community around you as an entrepreneur? Where were you in your business and what was that community and what impact did it have?
I'm going to actually take you before the business was started. Before 34 Strong was started back in 2013, it was this awakening because I was a W-2 employee at the time. I was working as I was successful when you looked from the outside in at my job. I was a senior project manager for a commercial construction company. And I came to the realization I did not want to do that. I did not want to go through that experience at all. And I started moving down the path of, what would it look like if I went out on my own, having no idea what that would look like. But I opened up the door to putting myself out there and having conversations. And next thing I knew was I had already had a network there. People were willing to talk to you. You saw others that were right there and just ask the question, what is this like? What would it be like to go out on your own? And some of these came from people that were also W-2 employees. So they were in the employee component, but they had started projects, businesses on the side. They were doing something. They had a little side hustle. And I saw this willingness of people to connect. Now, if I called them, talking to them about different things that I was dealing with in my project management world of construction, they would have been helpful, but your network was a lot smaller. It was just within that respective industry of how to, build faster and how to be a better project manager. But I found that there was this whole level of willingness that I'd never seen before. And I think the secrets that was unlocked, the nerve that was hit that was very different, was there was love, there was passion. And as a result, there was compassion. There was a level of desire to lean into exactly what John just talked about with the evolutionary components, the cooperation, because there was a realization that it had taken place and many of them that had awakened and said, yes, you want to join in to this tribe. We will get you there. We will take you there. And it's similar to, since we've gone through evolutionary history, why don't we continue in that path with some examples just from the world at large and nature? So I'm talking to you all from the island of Barbados. I moved here right now. I'm working on 34 Strong from here, and everything I was doing virtually, just in a different location. So there's this fascinating component about the sea. So when you're actually swimming in the ocean, for those of you that have been out in salt water, it naturally pushes you up. We're so buoyant in salt water. Now, what's fascinating is once you get to a certain point, you can swim down 10, 15, 20 feet, and it's still going to try and push you back up because we are just buoyant. Now, once you hit a certain depth, I believe it's about 40 to 50 feet, the ocean then starts to pull you into it. So that level of neutral buoyancy that you get when you're not wearing like a suit or a scuba suit or anything like that. Hopefully you don't go scuba diving in an actual business suit. That's a really bad idea. I would suggest not doing that. But the ocean starts to pull you into it. It's like you've gotten here, you've arrived, you're part of this community now. Enter here. Free divers have found this when they get into that place. And what I found was for many, many years, I was dabbling in the 40 feet and above level. So you are swimming, and that fear that you just talked about, that somebody didn't want to actually put out there, Donna, what you've talked about, what you do with pumpkin planning to get people really casting, what do you want your life to look like? Creating a life and a business by design, but they swim in the 40-foot area and they say they don't have time to go down. And when you actually make that commitment in your brain up here, again, this is like a biology lesson today, right? So that's what we're getting into. When you make the commitment here, then you swim down to that 40-foot level. And it's just the gateway to what is actually there for us to discover. And that was the birthplace for me of finding the power of community that has built itself time and time again. Again, this community right here of talking comes right from that. It comes from the tribe that we've all been a part of with Mike's work. And it's led to so many other amazing things.
That is such a beautiful metaphor for, that feeling of I am here, I am a part of this, I'm diving deep. It's like that level of commitment, like I'm going for it now. And because I'm so committed to going for it, I want to surround myself with people who want to be here with me too and go deep. And we're going to do this together and make it happen. And for me, with the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back community, one of the things that I'm so aware of is that we're changing the story of entrepreneurship from that traditional grind it out story that to be successful, you have to grind it out. And so as soon as you start swimming in a different direction and saying, you know what, I'm going to put some boundaries in place in my business. I'm going to stop work at 5 o'clock. And you look at other entrepreneurs and you immediately feel this guilt because like, oh my gosh, I'm doing something different than the rest of the herd, the tribe, and that feels dangerous and scary. And so all the fear comes up. So if we're swimming with people who are deeper, who are committed, no, we can go this way, we can do this differently, it becomes easier to have those boundaries that we need to have with our business in order for us to be successful. Because one of the great ironies that I've discovered is that the less we work, the more effective we become and the more our businesses grow and become stronger and healthier. I know I'm saying that, and I know people are hearing that and thinking that doesn't make sense. How does that work? And I really feel like it's so important to see examples from other entrepreneurs doing it and succeeding, which we have in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back community, examples of that success to just help encourage and keep moving forward.
Can I make one quick point on that? Just what you said, and it's super fast.
Yes.
When we commit to going deep into our business and to being entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs and the business will commit to going deep with us, much like the ocean. When you commit to going deep, the ocean then commits to you. And we see this time and time again in nature. You just look outside, you see trees. What happens? As the roots get deeper, the trees grow bigger. It's all everywhere we look. We can see this, but we get so stuck in our businesses and on our screens and this and that. We lose sight of looking at what the natural world is telling us everywhere. It's evident everywhere, but you got to go deep and it will pull you in.
And Darren, you are really committed to studying the lessons that nature has to teach us about life and business. And you've started a whole podcast around that with some fascinating discussions. So I want to just give you a moment here to talk about a podcast because I have a feeling that our listeners are hearing you talk and they're making these connections in what you're describing about nature.
Yeah, well, on that, it's the Nature Advantage. That's the podcast. Fascinatingly enough, as we're recording this, your episodes start to go live next week. So your episodes are broken into 2 parts. We talked to Dr. Sabrina very much about the power of nature in harnessing her own potential and excellence and the importance of actually spending time there. We hear of nature a lot of time. Time in nature, it's healing, it's soothing. I'm asking a different question. I'm not looking at the healing and soothing elements. We talk about that. We look at it as an accelerator of human excellence. And is it actually a gateway to greatness and excellence and human excellence? And that's what we start looking at. So I had the privilege of talking to Dr. Sabrina. I spoke to Mike. I spoke to Tony Robbins, business partner of 35 years, his number 2 at all of his events. Joseph McClendon. I've spoken to Grammy Award-winning musicians. It's fascinating stuff and how much nature and time in nature has been a part of them sharpening the saw in their respective trades.
So cool. So John, talk about the power of community for you and when you first became aware of the need for that in your life as an entrepreneur.
The first thing that I'll say is you gave me one of my best friends now, Sir Stephen Wilkinson, who is we have very different views on certain things. And that guy is a gentleman and a brilliant person of the first order. And I met him at Breakthroughs on the Bayou because of you. And, like that one gift alone, like priceless. And, when you say this, I think back the first time that this really became just in my face and I didn't really get it was when I went to TED for the first time. And, I don't go into the whole details because it's just too much to explain, but I was actually at the kids table at TED. They called it TED Active, and it was less expensive. Everybody was younger. It was put on by TED, and the woman who put it on insisted that we were at TED. It's just we were at the kids table is what we called it. But everybody that went to both said that ours was more fun. But what was so cool about that was that you had to apply. You knew about, I had to apply. I knew about TED. So when I got accepted, I kind of thought this might be a clerical error, but I'm going to go anyway. I didn't feel like I deserved to be there. And the funny thing is pretty much everybody else felt that way. So it was like this place where everybody thought everybody else was cooler than they were. And so it made for really great interaction, and the people that I met at TED Active in that TED community and then in the TEDx community, they saw me in a way that I didn't get yet. They saw me as like brilliant and talented. And I did not relate to myself that way at that point. And so I got to live into who they thought I was, and they kind of pulled me into it. And the first time I ever did what I'm doing now was for TEDx AFC, which is in San Diego. And I met Melinda Richter, who is my number one client. And when she got acquired, her company got acquired by Johnson & Johnson. She brought me to Johnson & Johnson. And then there I was at Johnson & Johnson. And then I got to work for all these other big companies. They're like, oh, you will. So like, there's just no words for the difference that community made for me. And then because of TEDx, I met Mike Michalowicz. And I'll never forget, I was charging like, I don't know, $2,500 a day to go train, and I thought I was just crushing it, and Mike Michalowicz, actually, he invited me to a group that he had put together of these speakers that were just way out of my league, but he invited me anyway, and Flash and I went and we hung out, and I think we did a couple of things together, like Dory Clark and, all the unbelievable people. And really kind and really willing to share everything they could share to make a difference for me and cared about me just like they did each other. And Mike, I remember, asked me what I was charging, and I told him, and he stood up and he walked over and he put his hands on my shoulders and he looked me in the eyes and he said, dude, you're not a $2,500 speaker. You're a $10,000 keynoter at least. Stop charging so little. You're ruining it for the rest of us. Well, okay, talk about belief levels. My prices went up and it completely altered my life, my lifestyle, and it altered the orbit that I was in. That was a quantum leap into a much higher orbit with a different set of clientele. And that's the thing I think about community that probably speaks fundamentally to me the most, is to be in a group, create a community where you really stand for each other's greatness and you share that with each other and you bring that out in each other and you lift each other up, because that's just what utterly transformed my life. Like, I was 50 grand in debt for my whole life, had millions of dollars of stock that never got liquid, and then that dried up. So if it wasn't for those communities, like, I don't even know where I would be.
That's so powerful, that being seen for your greatness and having someone not just call it out in you, the holding you to the greatness. Like, I've called it out in you, John, and you not go off and hide anymore, because we're going to support you and we're going to continue to encourage that moving forward. I heard that same level of someone being so moved by that just the other day in one of our Better Business, Better Life small groups. One of our clients said, "You all see me." And it was that moment where I just thought, that's it. From this day forward, she can't go back. She can no longer play small. So thank you for sharing that. So that's such a powerful part of community. And it's not just, we're going to chat a little bit here on Facebook, and it really is taking the time to get to know people and really wanting to celebrate and honor their greatness.
And being willing to put yourself in a situation where you do get seen. And maybe somebody does call you out as being much better than you think you are. And then maybe they give you a tip on how to actualize that. How about you try this, right? That's cool.
Yes, exactly. And that one little step that will move you forward. So, Donna, I want to hear your encounter with community and the first time and how it's impacted you.
Okay, so now I've had all this time to think about everything while everyone else is speaking, but also blowing me away. And I know this isn't the Mike Michalowicz Fan Club podcast, but I will say this. I just want to blow your mind a little more, John, which is that Stephen Wilkinson actually a couple of years ago reached out to me because he said if he could only take 3 books with him to a desert island, Pumpkin Plan and Profit First would be 2 of the 3. And he is a huge Mike Michalowicz fan. And when he reached out to me, I mentioned Sabrina to him, and he said, I'm already following her because Sabrina is in our universe. And that's how Sabrina ended up with Sir Stephen at her retreat. So again, none of this would have happened without Mike Michalowicz. And it's so true. He has an amazing gift for believing in people, and so sincerely that it does raise your belief in yourself. I mean, I've seen him, he did it with me, but I've seen him do it with so many people, and it's really genuine, which is why it has such an impact. So my own story, I was thinking about this, Sabrina. I learned probably in middle school about the power of focusing on helping someone else with their problems versus focusing on my own problems. And I evolved as one of those people who was always focusing on other people. That's who I am. And then when I would get as an adult and in the business world, when I would get into group situations, I was always more comfortable in the role of being the facilitator, of being that person who would give. But then when it was my turn, I would say, oh, we can skip me. I don't really know, what I need help with. And I was not fully participating as a taker. Taker doesn't sound like a great word, but I was a giver, and not because I want to be a martyr about it. That was just what made me feel good and the role that I was most comfortable in. And when I started my coaching practice, my coaching business, I also became a leader for, at the time, it was a new women's networking group called BIG, which stands for Believe, Inspire, Grow, which, by the way, that's how I met Mike Michalowicz, because the founder of BIG introduced me to him. But that's another story. But I was running a women's networking group in my town once a month, and I was the leader. And and by the way, that's how I met Andrea Walker, who has been on this podcast and who I convinced to come to Breakthroughs on the Bayou with me as well. I was the leader and she was the assistant leader. And so we formed an amazing, business relationship and friendship. And that's what I really learned was when I wanted to do business, when I needed to hire somebody or to purchase something, the first thing I did was I went to my existing network, either for a recommendation or because somebody I knew did that thing. So I really recognized that power. But it wasn't until I would say the past few years, Sabrina. So I came to the first Breakthroughs on the Bayou with the same intention that I always have, to help. Right? I was there to support you, to contribute whatever I could. And I ended up walking away with some really powerful shifts for myself. It wasn't just my mindset, my whole business shifted after that first Breakthroughs. And what I will say is that I've always had communities and I've always been kind of more of the giver in the communities. But when I learned to also receive, that's when the massive power came in. And I will say that the business community that I've developed, and a lot of these people, I didn't necessarily, you don't meet them in person right away. You know, in this world, you start with online relationships. But I really feel like I have a community right now that I can say, I need help with something, like I need help figuring something out. And I know so-and-so has a skill in that or has experienced that. And I will reach out to them and say, would you be willing to help me with this? And nobody's ever said no. Everybody is so generous. And I don't see it as payback. Like, I'm not like, oh, well, I've helped all these people, so now it's my turn. I just see it as the universe saying, you know, you put yourself out there and you will also be able to receive, but you have to allow yourself to receive. And that's really, for me, the power of community, is that you get the opportunity to give and you also get the opportunity to receive.
That's such an important message, because I think a lot of us are givers in the entrepreneurial community and we're not good at asking for help. We're not. We just, muddle through and think, oh, I'll figure it out. But meanwhile, I'll help so-and-so. So I really want to just encourage all of you who are hearing that in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back community to think about, what is it that you need help with right now, and put it out there and allow our community to support you and come forward with the gifts.
And I just want to add that part of the hesitance can be, I don't want anybody to know that I'm struggling with this because they'll see me differently. They won't see me as a leader anymore. They won't want to do business with me because they'll think, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. We need to get over that. If we're going to move forward, because once I got past this idea that I had to be perfect, everything became easier.
Yeah. So I'm going to give John an opportunity to share a takeaway, and then Darren, and then we're going to have to wrap because we're almost at the top of the hour. It's been such a great conversation. John, what's your takeaway from today?
Well, so first, I'm just much more present again to the power of community and the difference that it's made in my life. It's just clear to me. I mean, we just don't do anything alone. It just doesn't happen. There is no such thing as a self-made person, period, ever at all in any way, shape, or form. And, the other thing that it just popped up for me really hard when Donna was speaking is that it is about that give and take. And I think that for a lot of people, including myself and maybe other people on this call, really easy to give. I want to give, I've got something for you. Here you go. Here you go. Another gift that we can all give is the gift of letting others contribute to us. And if people come into your community to contribute, that's awesome. And that's what we want. And, this community welcomes contribution. And don't rip everybody else off by not letting them contribute to you too, right? And I think that's hard for all of us, myself included. And it's how other people get the fulfillment that you get contributing to them, So I just think that that's the beauty of community, is giving and giving other people the gift of letting them give to us, and just lift us all up together. Survival of the friendliest.
Thank you for that. That's such an important reminder. So Darren, I'm going to give you the last word and take us out. What are you taking away from our conversation today?
So I got two really simple points. Number one, at the core of our operating framework for 34 Strong, we live by this African proverb, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go with others. And that's at the core of what we do and what we teach in creating great places to work. That just really came to light with everything that was discussed here. Even if you don't have a team, even if you're a solopreneur right now, coming together, you can still go much further with others. And the closing piece is simply this: we are what we focus on. Dr. Sabrina talked about, I think, the Jim Rohn quote, we are the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And where our thoughts go, our energy flows. So if we tell ourselves we can't, I'm not good enough, guess what you're going to create? You can't, and you're not good enough. And you will completely self-perpetuate that. when you get yourself into that shock zone of discomfort, you might find somebody else sees brilliance in you that you didn't even see that you had, and allow them to speak that into you. So that's what I've got. Thank you.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, Profit Designers, if you want to have more experience with Donna, John, Darren, myself, and the rest of our Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back community, you can find us on Facebook at tapthepotential.com/group. We are here to support and serve and receive and learn from each other. We're going to go far together. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, guys. Thank you for spending time with us today. Join our conversation in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community at tapthepotential.com/group. Share your aha moments from today's episode, ask me questions, and join in on the fun with your fellow entrepreneurs on the journey to designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. And finally, share today's episode with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.